Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are talking all about the upcoming new moon in Taurus on April 27th. And today we are going to go through and break this moon down piece by piece. First and foremost, I hope that everybody has been doing well since the eclipse season has ended. And now we are finally out of Venus and Mercury retrograde. Thank goodness. Like, that was really rough there for a second. And I know that everybody was really feeling it, at least the people that I knew. And so it's been really nice to kind of get out of that retrograde eclipse chaos and jump into this fresh new energy that we have with all the newfound lessons that we have learned. And so we are going to go ahead and jump straight into this. So it's a new moon in Taurus. Whenever we have the moon in Taurus, we are looking at themes of stability, planting seeds. Taurus is the fixed sign that we find in spring. And so it's the epitome of spring energy. And so we're seeing a lot of fertility. The moon also loves being in Taurus. It is where it can do its most mooniest things, such as for bringing life and bringing all that like mothering kind of energy, that fertile energy to the collective as well. And also, when we're talking about literally spring, it's planting seeds, whether it be metaphorical seeds or actual like seeds. But we are definitely set into like the long haul of the waiting game. We are nurturing and but we're planting and nurturing those seeds that we want to see the fruits of our labor later. Taurus is a slow energy, and so it's very much a energy for this new moon that slow and steady wins the race. Quality over quantity, I think, is such a huge thing when we're talking about a moon in Taurus, especially a new moon in Taurus. There's a lot of uncertainty when we're talking about new moons. And Taurus honestly does not like uncertainty, but it's just kind of the the feeling that we have during a new moon. Um, we can we're at the very beginning of a process, and this is going to be the second lunation of two. The first one was the full moon in Libra, where we have the moon ruled over by Venus in Pisces. Venus in Pisces is in its exaltation, and I really love this new moon because the moon is also in its exaltation of Taurus. And so we've got a lot of good vibes here, a lot of very sensual, very value centered, harmonious kind of feels when we're talking about the new moon in Taurus. A lot of potential for growth when we're talking about this new moon in Taurus. And so I want to first and foremost kind of bring our attention to the new moon in general. The new moon is happening at a 7, which is a Libra degree, and so it's going to be talking about themes of partnerships, which is very Venusian, values within those partnerships. And so this is going to sound really reminiscent of the Venus retrograde, where we got to reevaluate what do we value? Are the people in the relationships that we're in, do we have the same values? Is it built to last? Because a lot of Libra energy is about like what is actually aesthetically pleasing and what we, I guess, quote unquote, should be versus what actually has a solid foundation underneath it and is built to last. And so, in the sign of Taurus, that is very much very like conservative, a bit more cautious and slow moving, and has that earth structure. I think we definitely find that. I think there's a lot of potential to find relationships, whether it be romantic, friendships, platonic, um, and even business relationships, especially business relationships with Taurus being involved, for us to find those perfect pairings. But I think we have to really be uh, not healed, but I guess we just have to be very cognizant of what we learned during the Venus retrograde. I think to come out of this, to come out on the other end of this new moon, the best that we can. And so we're also looking at Libra. There can be some back and forth. And I think that's where the new moon energy is coming in with this Taurus. There's some back and forth about how things might pan out. Taurus likes to know exactly where it's going. And when we're talking about Libra energy kind of being the undertone of it, there can be this indecision about what is the best path forward. What is the best relationship to commit to, especially uh, what what partnerships and values do we pour our energy into. Sorry if I'm having a hard time like with words. We're still getting over that Mercury post shadow. But yeah, our relationships are a big part um of this new moon in Taurus. And I think, of course, like I said before, there's a lot of potential for growth. But when it comes to relationships, but it has to be the right relationship. So discernment in the relationships and what we decide to pour our energy into, whether it's a relationship or not, is extremely important when we're talking about this new moon, especially because this new moon is actually making a nice little T square. It's completing a T square between Mars and Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, which is bringing a lot of change because of certain power struggles, because of possibly us butting heads and having to purge out certain relationships that just are not working, where people might be trying to overpower us on things that we firmly want to stand our ground on or firmly want to put our boundaries up on. And I'm not saying that boundaries are bad at all. But I think just like when we're talking about like relationships, it's good to know whether or not certain boundaries are worth standing up for. That is up to each individual person to decide. But I just did want to say that because um, Libra is also about compromise. And so I think a big part of this new moon in Taurus, especially since Taurus is known for being stubborn, is finding where is there compromise in the power struggle or is there no compromise? And if there is no compromise, then um, there might be need to just be a break. Um, and it's not worth all of the headache of doing all this screaming and arguing because Mars and Leo is very dramatic, and so not only are we expressing ourselves when we're talking about the new moon in Taurus squaring Mars and Leo, it's like this big emotional blow up, and it can be over something that you have been quiet about for a long time, especially since Mars is just leaving out of Cancer. And so it can be about things that maybe you have been keeping quiet about for a long time. And then things are just kind of bubbling up to the surface, which is literally Pluto at a 3 in Aquarius. And so things are just kind of exploding out of nowhere. And now you really want to talk about it. And there becomes like this big argument. And it can really get into like more of the area of resentment when we're talking about Pluto being involved as well, because Pluto is also not only making an opposition to Mars, but it's also making a square to the Moon, and so it's about some sort of domination or some sort of fears that we might have surrounding our relationships and our power in a situation. I think a big thing that we have to remember with this T square is to accept the things that we cannot change about other people or a situation and focus on the things that we can change and focus on the things that we can grow because not everything is going to be up to us. And so, I definitely say, take your time. Pluto in Aquarius can be unpredictable as far as like what needs to go, especially when we're talking about like friendships and communities. Um, with Mars and Leo, it really wants to shine that independence and that breakthrough, really wants to make changes in the way of making some sort of transformation and breaking free of the way that things have possibly been going. And so we're really embodying our values loud and proud. And not everybody is going to like that. And so you just have to be mindful of that. Finally, not finally, oh my goodness, finally, I want to take a look at the ruler of this new moon, which is Venus in Pisces, which is at a 28, which is a Cancer degree. It's making it's making a, what is this? Oh my goodness, a sextile to Uranus in Taurus. And so there's some sort of shakeup when it comes to like our communities or our independence, um, and wanting to kind of find the us within the relationships of things. It's making sure that you don't lose yourself. Um, I think is one of the biggest things when we're talking about this sextile and how it's really coming through in this new moon in particular. But also I could see with this kind of aspect with, because Venus is at a Cancer degree, Uranus is at a Taurus degree. It could have to do with like costs of housing, and there possibly being some needing to pay close attention to like the sale of a house, or like needing to strike while the iron is hot as far as like buying a house, because I could definitely see with that T square happening to this new moon is like, oh, you find a new home to move into, but there is some sort of issue with like there's some sort of issue as far as like another buyer coming in and trying to swoop in and take the sale or whatever. I am really bad at like making examples. That's the only one that I can really like think of at the moment. But that could definitely embody that square, or there can be like a bidding war. I could even see that with the um, Mars Pluto opposition with a square to the new moon. It can also be about security of our houses or security of home, or making sure that we have enough resources, or we feel like we have enough resources or control to secure our safe space. And so just keep that in mind. I think with Venus being in Pisces at that Cancer degree, it's more about the chosen family that we have is there to really support us. And so I would like to remind everybody that you're not alone, even if you feel like you possibly are, even if you feel like, you're possibly fighting a battle alone, you definitely have a support system there with Venus in Pisces sextiling Uranus in Taurus. Um, I think a lot of conversations are going to be coming up surrounding like, what do we value? What do our partners value? And are we going the same places? Last thing I want to say is that love can be found in the most unexpected and unorthodox places with Venus sextiling Taurus, Uranus and Taurus. I think this is definitely a new moon where we can find long lasting relationships that it's almost like the love of our dreams, because literally we have the moon in its favorite place, we have Venus in its favorite place, and the moon is being ruled by Venus in its favorite place. And so it's just like a cosmic party in the sky. And so, finding the things that really make us feel secure and um, like we have, you know, all the things that we need to take care of ourselves for the long haul are there. Um, and they just kind of come out of nowhere. It's like you finally hit a breakthrough once you are really walking in that authenticity of yourself. And sometimes that means breaking away from the group. Hello, Aries. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus on April 27th, 2025. Today, we are looking at this new moon being in your second house of money, values, self-worth, helpers, even are coming in the in the second house. When we're looking at the second house as far as assistants or helpers, we're more looking at like accountants or people that deal with money. It can be helpers in general, but usually we're seeing accountants or people that deal with like your resources or manage your resources in some way, shape, or form in the second house as helpers. We have the ruler of this new moon, Venus, being conjunct Saturn in your 12th. And so the 12th house is a lot about what is hidden. It's about the behind the scenes stuff. It's not just about what is intuitive and the connection to the divine, but it's also a place of isolation. And so we're seeing like a lot of self love here. And so it's a great new moon for really building up confidence and taking care of yourself as well, um, especially like the physical body. We can also see the 12th house being a lot about dreams and, I think I can't remember if I said this before, but just like working behind the scenes on things as well. We can also see the 12th house being about hidden talents. And I definitely think when we're talking about second house things, you could be finding a way, new ways to make money with hidden talents that maybe you're really growing into. If you are starting a new job, it wouldn't surprise me with Aries going through this new moon, with it in being in your second house, but connected to the 12th. We see that Venus is not only connected to your second house, but it's also connected to the seventh as well. And so there's some sort of new partnership being forged behind the scenes. And so I think a lot of you could be starting new jobs, especially if those roles are very much working behind the scenes, or it could be about you investing more so in mental health or spiritual growth, or really just kind of when it comes to finances, finding a lot of clarity in finances, possibly because you hire on some sort of financial, advisor, or you could be, really clearing out the fog when it comes to psychic gifts that you have, and therefore possibly, making money on with those gifts. We can see a lot of spiritual growth here for sure, though, when we're looking at this new moon in Taurus. Other than that, we do have a tarot card. We have the Seven of Pentacles. Don't be afraid to let things run the test of time, whether it be partnerships or investments. Let things play out on their own, even if it takes a little bit longer than you expect them to. Not everything is on your timeline, Aries. And the Seven of Pentacles really teaches us that right now we're planting the seeds, and it's okay to not see the results right away. Those things kind of have to grow beneath before we can even see them, to grow into something that's abundant and healthy and efficient. And so that is your horoscope, Aries. Hello, Taurus. So this new moon is all about you. It is your time to shine. So, my Taurus sun, moon, and risings, buckle up. We have this new moon in your first house of identity and personal goals in your physical body, your appearance. And we have the ruler of this new moon, Venus and Saturn. Well, I guess Saturn is conjunct Venus, and so it's very much in the mix. And so we have Venus in your 11th house as well as Saturn. And so the 11th house is where we see friends, networks, dreams, recognition, as well as allies and community as well. And so when we're looking at this new moon in particular, it's very personal to you, because we're seeing the ruler of this actual new moon, Venus, be the ruler of your first house, but it's also going to be the ruler of your sixth house as well. And so you alone for the new moon, because the new moon is in your first house, you're entering into a new chapter, literally a fresh start, with the sun in your on your either your ascendant or just in your sun or moon sign. We're seeing a new chapter of self confidence and vitality and identity. It's just a brand new start for you. And I absolutely love that. It's kind of like your own personal new year. So you could be launching a new project and showing up online that could lead to, new online connections and friendships, as well as like community and support from those people as well. It's definitely a glow up moment. Like I said, I think in the May astrology for 2025, that'll be coming out in a couple days. I love this conjunction with Venus and Saturn. It's very much giving, I worked for the glow up, and now I'm just really radiating that energy that I've worked for. And so it's definitely a glow up moment when we're seeing it in a new moon, where the moon loves being in Taurus, and Venus, the ruler of that moon, loves being in Pisces. It's just that Saturn is really making you earn it. That's all. And so this, I think, is definitely professionally as well as personally, because the sixth house is where we see work as well. And because Saturn is in the mix, we're seeing long term goals and your reputation or influence, get a gentle nudge forward when we're looking at this new moon. So for your tarot, we got the Two of Cups. I love this. This is about connection, it's about compassionate communication and just really having a soft space to land in when we're talking about connecting with others and really kind of melding into each other. It's a lot about emotional intelligence as well. And so when we're looking at the Two of Cups, it's a lot about reciprocity when we're coming into into relationships with each other. It's a give and take. And so what other people are pouring into you, you are also pouring into them. And so at its best, it's balanced communication as well as relationships. And I love that for you because you're definitely worth it. And I think that's what that Venus in Saturn in your 11th house is showing you, you know, what you deserve as far as a relationship, especially when it comes to friendship. It's showing you the true love that you deserve when it comes to your community that you've built. And so that is your horoscope for your new moon in Taurus. So have a very good one. Hello, Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This is going to be your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus. We have the new moon in Taurus happening in your 12th house, and it being ruled by Venus and Pisces in your 10th house. Now, Venus is conjunct Saturn in your 10th house as well, and so we are seeing some sort of movement when it comes to career. I think it's very subtle and kind of behind the scenes with the new moon being in your 12th. Either you're preparing for some sort of glow up when it comes to your career and public image, or you are seeing some changes that are just kind of happening that are kind of happening behind the scenes when it comes to your job, whether it be new authority figures coming in and old ones transferring out. Hopefully you're not facing any sort of backstabbing in the career area or the career field. But this can also definitely be a new moon where we can see a lot of burnout. So make sure that you are taking care of yourself, Gemini. Taurus in the 12th can definitely be, a great sign, especially with the new moon there, that it really helps us to tap into career, in your case, career advisement advice through your dreams. And so just make sure that you watch out for that. If it means keeping a dream journal and making sure that you keep track of that in that way, do that. Because Venus not only is going to be the ruler of your 12th, but it's also going to be the ruler of your 5th. So maybe there is some like secret workplace romance going on there. Or it could just be, finding new ways to be creative in the workspace as well. Focusing in on possibly taking risks on your own, going rogue a little bit when it comes to your career. That could be something that I think could come up as well. Just make sure with Saturn being involved in the 10th that you are making sure that you are taking practical and measured risks that just aren't reckless. We want to make sure that you have some sort of like plan for the long term when Saturn is involved, especially in the 10th house in particular. But yeah, the biggest thing I want to, just kind of remind you of is the burnout, because I do think that's definitely something that we can see. Taurus is already a very slow moving energy. And then when we add in the 12th house, it can be like, I just need a break. And so with that, we have for you, Gemini, we have the Wheel of Fortune as your tarot card. Things are definitely changing. And I think they're changing definitely, like we said, behind the scenes. And you might not even be aware of it or know about it yet. This might be unbeknownst to you. But change is definitely coming. Your fate is definitely changing. Things are looking up if they haven't been looking so great as of late. And if things have been good so far, you can expect them to kind of even out. Taurus is a sign that builds momentum from the energy that it's already kind of working with. And so when the Wheel of Fortune is brought up when we're talking about this kind of new moon for you, I think it's more of a continuation of the good rather than things turning bad. Or at least I hope so. Um, it could also, I think this could also be you just really taking, ownership of your work that you're really proud of, or just opting to work alone. I just wanted to say that though, but the wheel is definitely that Saturn card, or the Wheel of Fortune is definitely like that Saturnian like card, or I guess it's technically Jupiter. I'm getting this mixed up with the world card, but the Wheel of Fortune is saying that, things are definitely changing. So that is your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus, Gemini. Hello, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This is going to be your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus that is happening in your 11th house of friendships, goals, networking, allies, community, hopes, dreams, and wishes, all of those things. And we are seeing the ruler, Venus in Pisces, in your ninth house of travel, education, justice, and publishing, and long distance travel as well. Well, I said travel, but long distance travel is, I should have clarified that. And so we're what an exciting time. We are seeing a lot of socializing when we're looking at these two houses being involved, especially since Venus is going to also be the ruler of not only your ninth house, but, or sorry, not ninth house, your 11th house, but also your fourth house. And so it's all about connection with this new moon in Taurus. And so it could be you returning to a place that you really enjoy, or going to see friends overseas, friends that feel like family, or actual family that is overseas or at a distance. You could be going to visit them. Some of you could be graduating with this new moon in Taurus. When we're looking at like the Venus and Saturn being in the ninth house, that's the first place that my mind kind of goes to, is some sort of like leveling up when it comes to like education, especially higher education as well. We can see new connections with people from different backgrounds or belief systems when we're looking at the 11th house, the new moon in the 11th house being involved with the ninth as well. The ninth house can also be about like different cultures, different languages. And so some of you could be enrolling in new courses that have to do with learning languages or different kinds of like cultural like arts as well. As I could see that with Taurus being so artsy. um, and so we could also see some long distance opportunity that is arising with this new moon in Taurus as well. But other than that, we have the tarot card for you is interesting, the Eight of Swords. I think this is honestly all about the new connections that you're making. And I think you might possibly be overthinking it or feeling a bit overwhelmed when it comes to all of the new schedule changes that you're running into because you're meeting with all these new people. It could be anxiety or just kind of social anxiety. I wanted to like remind you that the Eight of Swords is a lot about, feeling like, that you're trapped, but I just want to remind you that you are not being trapped by any external force. It's just you. This is overthinking. This is self-doubt. And the 11th and ninth house are so expansive when they are kind of like linked together. The 11th house is where Jupiter finds its joy, and the ninth house is, just associated with Jupiter in particular, like naturally. And so that's a lot of expanding. That's a lot of wandering potential when we're getting into this new moon in Taurus for you. And you can I could see there wanting to be a need to kind of compartmentalize things, to organize things, and for things to start feeling very overwhelming, like you don't have enough time for things. Take your time, take a breath. If you need to organize some things or rework some things, do that. But I think that you're definitely able to take on all of the new opportunities that you'll be seeing with this new moon if you're able to do that and create, the Saturn like structure that this new moon is obviously, very obviously calling in. So that is your horoscope, Cancer. Hello, Leo. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus occurring on April 27th, 2025. This new moon is happening in your 10th house of career, public image, long term goals, authority figures, all that good stuff. And we have this new moon being ruled by Venus in Pisces that is in your eighth house, along with Saturn, of course. And that's going to be all about money from other people, deep transformation, intimacy, taxes, crisis, like transformation, all of those really good things. And so all those fun things, or not fun things. But I think when we're looking at this new moon for you, the 10th house is going to be one of the houses that Venus rules over. But also, we see the third house coming in when we're looking at Venusian ruled houses as well. And so I think when we're talking about this new moon for you, I think we're seeing some big career changes coming up. When we're talking about the eighth house, would hope that it doesn't have anything to do with people questioning your trustworthiness when it comes to your job or career. And it's just a matter of, you're getting some news about a new promotion or you moving up after you've been working so hard to, earn like a new pay raise or a new position or title, because the 10th house is also going to be like status as well. And so I would hope that it'd be something a bit more positive, such as that, with definitely with the moon being in its favorite sign, Taurus. I would expect that it would be, but also this is going to definitely be something that changes how you feel about yourself or how you identify. And so it's definitely very personal for you as well, since the 10th house is squaring your first house. And so it's going to create new relationships. It's going to, really change how you identify or like just a title that you hold. It doesn't have to be like personally how you feel about yourself, but it can be like, you have a new status, either at work or out in the world as well. And so the eighth house is also about like where we kind of melt in with other people and what we invest in. It's also our debts, what needs to be paid. And so when we're looking at this new moon, it can be, you might invest, someone might invest in you financially, energetically, time wise, helping you out with something. Um, and they might, expect the same in return. I could definitely see that with the eighth house being involved in the third house as well, because the third house is associated somewhat with Gemini. And so I could see like reciprocity really being a thing, like quid pro quo kind of situation going on. But definitely big changes are possible in your career path, especially involving partnerships or outside funding as well. You might start a new project that puts, your leadership and your status in the spotlight as well. But like I said, when we're talking about the eighth house, we're also talking about just kind of big transformations. And since this is having to do so much with your public image and therefore your physical body, I wonder if some of you are starting to see, if you've been like on a fitness journey, if some of you are starting to see the results of that hard work come into play for sure. Because Saturn would be, let me see, Saturn would be your sixth house, where we see like health as well. And so I'm wondering if some of you are seeing some of the benefits and, the results of that hard work that you've been, putting in the gym also come to light as well. For this new moon, we have the Two of Wands for your tarot card. And so you are definitely embarking on a new journey. It's just a matter of, do you take it? Do you take the opportunity? Hopefully, if it's something that you are have really been working hard for, you seize the opportunity. Other than that, that is your horoscope, Leo. Hello, Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. This is going to be your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus. We are having this new moon in your ninth house of travel, publishing, beliefs, long distance travel. And we are seeing the ruler of this new moon in your seventh house in Pisces, along with Saturn there as well. How are you guys doing? Let me know down in the comments with Saturn in your seventh. I bet you guys are ready for Saturn to move out of that house for sure. But I think honestly, with this new moon, we're seeing you being able to kind of see the fruits of your labor when it comes to relationships, especially since Saturn is getting to those last few degrees of Pisces. You're starting to see kind of like, all the hard work that you have put into relationships kind of pay off. But back to this new moon, we are seeing, honestly, the first thing that this makes me think of is love at a distance or partnerships at a distance. Long distance relationships in some way, shape, or form are being seen with this new moon, because the new moon is, or the Venus is not only the ruler of your ninth house, but it's also going to be the ruler of your second house as well. And so it can be new partnerships that are advantageous or make you money, um, at a distance or overseas. They could also be like spiritual businesses as well. A new like partnership can be forming, whether it's more spiritual or philosophical or legal, could also be something that we see with the ninth house being involved as well. I think with this new moon, we're also going to see a potential to, sign contracts when it comes to things like education or mentorship. But it's definitely a new chapter when it comes to like business with someone from a different like culture or background. It could be business, it could be love. Honestly, I'm like kind of leaning more into the business side because the second house is involved. But anything can happen. It can definitely be like a love thing since the seventh house is involved as well. And so for your tarot card, we have the Justice card, which is all about relationships, but it's also about what kind of work did you put in? um and what you put in is what you get out. And so I really love this card for you, Virgo, especially since the seventh house is so deeply connected to Libra, and Justice card is the Libra card. And so that is your new moon in Taurus horoscope, Virgo. Hello, Libra. Welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus that's occurring in your eighth house of shared resources, intimacy, and transformation. We are seeing this new moon be ruled by Venus, which is going to be in your sixth house in Pisces, which is ruling over health, work routines, and conflict resolution. Saturn is conjunct Venus, and so we're definitely seeing a little spice there. It's all the things that you worked for, essentially, wrapped up into this conjunction, and it makes it even um, a bit more emphasized when we're talking about the sixth house, because the sixth house is already where we see hard work. We're seeing not only health, but we're seeing like our routines, the things that take a lot of effort happen in the sixth house as well. And so when we're looking at this new moon in Taurus, that's in the eighth, the first thing that I kind of think of or that I see is, possibly addressing some sort of health issue or addiction that might be, brought up in kind of like in a sense of like creating some sort of breakthrough. Um, because the eighth and the sixth house to me, like especially with Saturn there, it's a make or break moment. And the eighth house can be addiction or the things that we kind of are repressing as far as emotionally. And so it could be a time where you are finding an emotional breakthrough that really helps you to kind of psychologically break through some sort of crutch that you're holding on to. And it, betters your health. Since it's a new moon in Taurus, I think this is like a very physical moon, especially since Venus rules over not only your eighth house, but also your first house as well. That has to do all with you. And so we can also see this new moon bringing in lots of abundance when we're talking about the assets and resources of other people. So you could be getting grants, bonuses, or a resource through work as well, since the sixth house is involved. It can be a new phase of intimacy that's forming, emotionally, sexually, spiritually, mentally, all of those things as well. You might be resolving old debts with the eighth house, or, coming up with like a good financial plan. The sixth house can be about organizing your finances, whether it's with somebody, and, creating a relationship with someone that can kind of help you in that process. If that's not your strong suit, that could also be something I see with the new moon in Taurus as well. The tarot card that you get for this new moon is going to be the Empress. I love to see it. It's abundance. It's about bringing new things to life. You are birthing something new. And I love that with the eighth house, because the eighth house is about transformation, death, and rebirth. What are you bringing into life? And so that is your card and horoscope, Libra, for the new moon in Taurus. Hello, Scorpio. We are talking all about the new moon that is occurring in your seventh house in Taurus. That is all about partnerships, contracts, one on one relationships, and it's being ruled by Venus, that is in your fifth house in Pisces, along with Saturn, of course. The fifth house is all going to be about love, romance, risk taking, hobbies, creativity, as well as children. And so when we're looking at this new moon, I definitely think things are getting spicy. Things are getting sexy when we're looking at this new moon for you, but it definitely is creating a lot of passion when it comes to connecting with other people. And so the first thing that I wanted to say is I think like either if you are single, we could see a new relationship can kind of start to bloom with this new moon. I don't think it's like in full effect yet, but it could be like the time where around the time where you like meet somebody new. Um, I think this is more going to be like romantic rather than business, but I definitely don't think you'll see it coming because Venus is also the ruler of your 12th house as well. And so it's kind of like the things that are unseen. Or you are just closing you and this person into the bedroom and you guys just are not out in the world. You guys are just really enjoying each other on a more intimate level. I can see that for sure. If you're not single, I think that this new moon is definitely bringing in a deepening of those relationships, and you can see you and a partner might really be investing more time in each other. We can see commitments and boundaries and love really taking center stage when we're looking at, especially the seventh house being involved with this new moon at center stage. But commitments and boundaries really being more so expressed and talked about can be something that we see, as well as new contracts with like especially like things that have to do with like arts or like planning. The seventh house can be about like contracts or things that we sign with partners. And so, like, if anybody is having any sort of like um, trying to negotiate certain things that have to do with like co parenting or um, having to kind of sign off on certain things as far as like if you're having like some sort of art exhibit show, like signing off leasing spaces or things like that. I could definitely see that happening because Taurus is art and beautiful like sensual things. And so that's definitely something that we could see with this new moon. You might partner with someone on a creative project or a shared passion. And so I did promise like lots of passion as well as creativity. And so I think the first and foremost, way that we could see the seventh and fifth house coming together, other than steamy love making, is just to partner with somebody creatively on something that you both are very much passionate about. And it is definitely going to be very much like a 12th house kind of vibe, which is kind of mystical, spiritual, and just very creative. And so I love that for you. And so with this Scorpio, we have your tarot card actually being the Hermit. So I was talking about you, like you and a partner probably possibly just like trapping yourself into the bedroom and just not coming out for days. Like, I think that you guys should come up for air at some point. A romping in the sheets is all fun and dandy, but definitely make sure you're getting out there enjoying that Taurus sun energy. And so the hermit can also be about the lessons that we learn, possibly from partners, because the hermit can also be like gurus that come to kind of help us to find better awareness of ourselves as well. We're learning through our relationships when it comes to the hermit as well as the seventh house. And so that is your horoscope, Scorpio. Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus. That's happening in your sixth house. The sixth house, or the new moon in Taurus, and your sixth house is being ruled over by Venus in Pisces. That's conjunct Saturn in your fourth. I'm going to say right off the bat that this new moon is going to be a lot about managing stress. I With the sixth house and the fourth house, it can be a lot about things that kind of come up either in a more private setting or with family. It can also be about things that come up from the past. And when we're talking about the sixth house, it can be a lot of busy work that has to do with the home as well. And when we're talking about the actual ruler of the new moon, and therefore like kind of like the flavor of this new moon being on an angular house, we're seeing it affect a lot of different areas as well. for you personally. And so, with this new moon, you might see kind of just like, right off the bat, a change to your daily routine, especially when it comes to like caring for family or, just kind of like your emotional health. Like I said, we could also see that same kind of thing happening when it comes to, managing your schedule, because of possibly like a new job, since the 10th house is opposite the fourth, where Venus and Saturn are sitting at. And so there's some sort of changes that have to be made at this time. But I definitely hope, if you're not, then I'm telling you to prioritize your wellness, since this new moon is in your sixth. Taurus is where we kind of invest our time and resources. And so I think with this new moon, you're really investing in your own wellness, in your own well-being. And so definitely I support that for you. Really, really make sure that you're prioritizing, making sure that you are taking care of yourself during this new moon in particular, since Taurus is such a physical sign, um, because it can definitely help you show up, at your best for those that need you the most. And so we can also see, changes within the house, like I said, happening. If you have roommates, you could see, changes with roommates happening or unfolding at this time, or you could just be moving around furniture in the middle of the night, since the fourth house is kind of like that, like at night kind of house as far as timing goes. And so we could see a lot of that. And so with this new moon, we have your tarot card being the Ace of Pentacles. So I definitely think some of you are seeing like some sort of new job come into play, or something new emerge as far as your career or like your workspace. But we could also see, the Ace of Pentacles as being like your safe space in general, somewhere where you feel really secure, like the home. And so it can be, just kind of changing, that environment up so that you do feel more secure, not only in that space, but in yourself as well. So that is your horoscope, Sagittarius. Hello, my fellow Capricorn rising, sun, moons. I said that backwards. Hello, my fellow Capricorn risings, sun, and moons. So we are having I messed up that intro so bad. Anyway, we're seeing this new moon in Taurus occur in your fifth house of joy, romance, passion, children, and creativity, and it's all being ruled by Venus in Pisces, which is in your third house, as well as Saturn, that is conjunct Venus at this time. And the third house is all about communication, siblings, travel, as well as learning. Believe it or not, this can be a new moon that can be very sexy for you as well. I think Scorpio was kind of in the same vibes. Honestly, Capricorn and Scorpio are just kind of like the same thing, but in different fonts. And so I'm not surprised. But when we're talking about this new moon, it could be like a new crush that is emerging, or, just kind of like a new relationship kind of blossoming, taking its first steps. Definitely flirty text can be seen when we're dealing with this new moon. Somebody sending you some sort of admiring text that has like a little bit of a flirty undertone. But I definitely think you're seeing your inner romantic kind of emerge from his or her deep slumber with this new moon in Taurus. I could also see, because the fifth house is involved, you getting inspired, creatively, as well as, getting into any sort of like writing and teaching, or even like launching a website, passion project. By the way, shameless plug here. Eden Eye Astrology is now live. And so if you would like to get your readings from me, you can go ahead and head on over there after you finish this video, of course. And so, lastly, we can see, conversations with siblings about possibly wanting to go on vacation or wanting to go do something fun. The fifth house is very much about like, it's all play when we're talking about the fifth house. And so when I look at the fifth house and like kind of like the tone of conversations when we're talking about siblings and neighbors, they are definitely ones that are a bit more positive. And so and they can definitely be ones that are, very supportive and create a lot of insight, if you're having an issue with something. And so, other than that, your tarot card for this new moon in Taurus is the Knight of Wands. I love it. A lot of fast moving energy, a lot of passion. Just make sure that the passion projects that you are creating, that you're putting quality into those things. The Knight of Wands can be great when it comes to enthusiasm, but sometimes he doesn't finish the things he starts. And so, and sometimes also he stretches things a bit too thin. But there's a lot of passion here. Just make sure that you have the right foundation to follow through. And so that is your horoscope, Capricorn. Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to your new moon horoscope for the new moon in Taurus. We are seeing this new moon occur in your fourth house of home, family, roots, the past, all of those things. The fourth house is also where we see things kind of go to die because it's the lowest part of the chart. But this new moon in Taurus is also bringing in life as well, because the fourth house can also be where we see literal birth happening, because it's connected to family. And so we see this new moon being ruled over by Venus in Pisces, which is also accompanied by Saturn, all in the second house. And so there's definitely some sort of investment in home. Where is home is the question. Especially when we're talking about, or like it can be, home is where the heart is. Home is where I believe it is, especially since Venus is not only ruling over your fourth house, but it's also ruling over your ninth house. And so it can be, some of you are moving far away from home, far away from family. Some of you can be signing new documents, legal documents, purchasing a home. Some sort of new change is definitely happening on the home front when we're talking about this new moon for you, Aquarius. Um, it could be, like I said, a new home situation is definitely brewing when we're looking at this new moon. It could also just be you investing in some sort of new decor in your living space, organizing, downsizing things, especially since Saturn is involved. A lot of people don't think about the fourth house as being a financial house or a money house, but it definitely is. And so we have the two biggest money houses involved for you, Aquarius. And so we're definitely seeing some financial shifts when we're talking about this new moon. And so I think we're really seeing also, some healing that's happening when we're talking about money or prioritizing where certain monies are going, and how you're spending those things. It could also just be, kind of melting the second and the fourth house together. It could have nothing to do with you at all. I've definitely seen that for sure as well. When we're talking about a family related shift, a family related financial shift, that could help you kind of feel more secure if you're in a situation where you're living with family members as well. Whatever it is, I want to urge you to remember that with every ending, there is a new beginning. And with the fourth house, a lot of times we can feel like things are just kind of being uprooted, um, with a new moon, and sometimes getting caught up in that because the fourth house can become like where we're very emotional and where we're a bit more sentimental. And so when we're looking at this new moon, I just want to stress that like a new beginning is coming. Something is being cleared out. Yes, something is dying off. But that's also, where we see things being birthed at. The fourth house is literally about family, so we can see expansion, of those new beginnings. Because for you, we've got the Ten of Swords. So this is an ending that you are very upset about. Something, you can feel like there's some sort of betrayal, or, just very sad about something, possibly an ending that you've been avoiding. But the best takeaway when we're talking about an ending with the Ten of Swords is that there is a new beginning on the horizon. Things are being cosmically cleared out right now. The fourth house is an angular house, and so it's changing a lot of different a lot of other aspects of your chart. It's the angular houses are the backbone of your actual chart. And so the minute that the fourth house gets triggered, such like by a lunation such as this, your relationships, how you identify, and also your appearance and everything like that, that can be affected, as well as your career and public image. That can also change. And so those are the four like main houses that kind of make up your chart. And so It's definitely a very dynamic time for you during this new moon. But just keep that in mind, and I think you will come out of this much better than you started. Other than that, that is your horoscope, Aquarius. Hello, Pisces. This is your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus that is occurring in your third house of communication, learning, short trips, and siblings. This new moon is going to be ruled by Venus conjunct Saturn in your sign, in your first house of identity, body, personality, and image. And so when we're looking at this new moon in Taurus, we are seeing a lot of self-expression, since especially since it's being ruled by planets that are in your first house. So it's literally your voice when we're talking about this new moon. And I think you're definitely speaking out about how you feel. About yourself. I think when we're looking at health and self expression, they're definitely like tied together. What you say about yourself is definitely going to affect how you feel internally, spiritually, mentally, all of that. And so just be very mindful of how you are expressing yourself in general, but especially the words that you're using in regards to you, because you could be either blessing or blocking yourself when it comes to this new moon, because Taurus is what is made real, and Pisces can definitely be what's in the ethers. And so make sure that you are manifesting the best for yourself during this new moon in Taurus. The third house also has to do with our friends, siblings, neighborhoods, and things like that. You could be taking short distance trips for leisure or for work, but I think this is more for leisure, definitely, since we are seeing the eighth house, or like for pleasure, since we're seeing the eighth house be the other house that Venus is going to be the ruler over. And so we could also be seeing you doing some fun change ups with your appearance as well, since Venus is in your first house and linked to your third as well as your eighth. But as far as travel goes, I think this is more about a pleasure thing. Just make sure that you're not paying for these traveling trips purely on credit. So especially if you are trying to pay those things off. Because Saturn is also going to technically be the ruler of your 12th house as well. So it can be like things like that you're spending money on that you're like, I didn't realize that I still owed this kind of thing. But definitely honor your voice, because it really reflects, who you are and how you feel. A sibling or a friend can play a key role in helping you really step into your power as well. They can be a great support system at this time. And lastly, you might be, signing up for a class that's very creative, or just something that's more related to, public speaking. I could definitely see that with the third house. And you're just kind of, really saying what's on your mind at this time. And so, with that being said, you have the tarot card, uh, oh goodness, I did a brain fart for a second. The Knight of Cups. Or sorry, not the Knight of Cups. My goodness. We have the Page of Cups, curiosity, diving into intuitive gifts, new intuitive gifts, as well as when we look at pages, we're looking at kind of like this open heart energy, being open to the mystical, being open to the creative, and really experience, almost like experiencing something for the first time. And so the Page of Cups really, to me, says a lot about like renewal, when we're talking about like kind of, almost like a baptism kind of situation. So it can be a great time where we're just kind of like, seeing a lot of transformation for Pisces, Sun, Moon, and risings as well. Other than that, it's like where things get whimsical. Um, yeah, but there's a lot of learning potential when we see, especially with like those more creative and intuitive arts with the Page of Cups. Other than that, Pisces, that is your tarot scope or horoscope. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. There will be more to come like this in May. That May astrology video will be out, I think, this weekend. Hopefully, I'm not making myself a liar here. it should either be out on Friday or Saturday. But other than that, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Please make sure that you subscribe, like, send it to a fellow astrology lover. And other than that, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.